I'm Wesley Morris, and welcome to the first episode of Cannonball. Okay, I have to get something off my chest. I love Bruno Mars. I'll just start with his voice. He sings with a classic, soulful brightness that, at its most open, can sit right alongside Sam Cooke and Bobby Womack and Jackie Wilson. Bruno, at his most impassioned, achieves what I can only describe as delicious burnt ends singing. Like, do I sing along or do I douse this man with barbecue sauce? I also love what a showman he is. This man, Bruno Mars, he seems completely devoted to just delighting the shit out of us. The melodies will send you to rehab.
Lucky for you, that's what I like. That's what I like. Lucky for you, that's what I like.
That is not news that should shock anybody. In fact, you might have just fallen asleep hearing that I even had to confess it. What earthling does not love this man? The charts alone speak for themselves. He was basically the biggest selling artist of 2011, and right now, he's hogging Billboard's global singles chart with duets, a sticky, right down the middle ballad with Lady Gaga called Die With A Smile.
I wanna be next to you.
And a not bad banger with Rosé from Blackpink called APT. And he's been making very popular music for 15 years. So, what am I really confessing when I say that I love Bruno Mars? Well, I think maybe it's that I should know better. I really spend a lot of time thinking about the ways in which the marketplace responds to music that hails from Black America, but isn't by Black people. Bruno Mars is a Puerto Rican Filipino from Hawaii. His birth certificate says Peter Gene Hernandez. His music started off as sincere cheeseball crooner pop that really banged. Then it evolved into something more sophisticated in its sound, yes, but also in its Blackness. And he evolved, surrounded by, co-signed by, in collaboration with Black musicians and hype people. And right about then, Bruno and I moved from the honeymoon phase into the why are you like this period. But I'm not about to walk out on him. Microscoping Bruno Mars right now might be useful, and he's done his thing pretty much scandal-free and without a lot of why are you like this scrutiny. So I contacted my former Times colleague, fellow critic, and pal, Niela Orr, just to think about what we're talking about when we talk about Bruno. Niela!
Hey, Wesley.
Welcome to Cannonball.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
We're calling it Cannonball.
I'm really happy to be here. Cannonball. That's perfect for the summer. Like, we're about to dive into a pool.
Yes!
So let's go.
All right. So let me just start with asking you what your relationship to this man is. Like, what kind of listener are you? Would you describe yourself as active, ambient, accidental, avoidant? What is it?
I think for such a long time I was an ambient listener. Mm-hmm. Like Bruno was someone who I heard a lot in Uber rides.
Yes, because they're all the Ubers, at least in the U.S. Mm-hmm. They're on a kiss.
Seriously. Yeah, or Philly, where we're both from. Thinking of Q102.
Oh, man, Q102.
When all the songs were sped up a little bit. But yeah.
Why did they do... Sorry.
I don't know.
Niela and I are both from Philadelphia, and it is just important to say that there was a radio station called Q102, and I got maybe 10 or 11 years on you, and... it's crazy that it was still happening when you were a kid. They would just speed the songs up.
Yep.
Just great songs. I would leave Q102 to go to some other station where the songs are playing at a regular speed. Anyway, go on.
Well, I feel like Q102, not to distract too much, but it was like getting ready to go out of the house music, right? And Bruno was a stalwart on stations like Q102, right? It's music that you put on before you go and do something, right?
Yes.
It's music that it's music that attends a night out, whether it's preparing to go out or going out, being in the club, being in the Uber on the way there, and finally enjoying yourself. So I feel like for a very long time, Bruno was someone I listened to almost accidentally, like as I'm on my way out somewhere. And over the years, I mean, it was just inescapable. It just felt like it started off being accidental and then it just became kind of totalizing the effect of his music. You know, you just couldn't go anywhere and hear it. You could go in Target. It was in Target, right? It was like in Walmart. It was everywhere. It was in the mall. It was just music that like truly just soundtracked your day.
But you weren't walking around during your day choosing to listen to this.
No.
You weren't actively listening.
No, I wasn't actively listening.
Okay. Because I was.
You were. Yeah.
I was. My I love this man moment is interesting and it's a little sentimental, and here it is. It's the 2011 Grammys, and they bring out, you know, they were still making the musicians pay tribute to the elders.
Yes.
Either by having an elder come out and co-sign a la a duet with somebody, or they would make the kids, the youngins, sing an elder's song. And what happened in 2011 that was so fascinating was they got Janelle Monáe, B.O.B., and Bruno Mars to come out and perform a set together, kind of as a little garage band at first, and then explodes into something bigger. But they don't really do anybody else's song. They do their own songs, but in different styles. Actually, can we watch it?
Thank you. I'd like to take this opportunity to talk to y'all about a girl I love.
I'm in my 30s at this point. I'm home on a visit. My mom either walks by or she like sat for this whole performance and she said, "This little boy can sing like Jackie Wilson." And I was like, my mom likes a thing that I like.
Yeah.
I love this. I love you, Mom.
Yeah.
And I love you, Bruno, for making me love my mom even more than I already did.
Catch a grenade for you.
I mean, he's taken a song that is so different from this sound. This is part of his genius to me. Is that he's just taken Grenade, which doesn't sound anything like this, and has turned it into a thing that my mother is like, I'm going to a place.
Yeah.
I'm going to a place. Well, while Grenade really didn't do anything for her as a pop song.
Yep. Taking her back to Motown, taking her back to Temptations era, to Smokey and the Miracles. It's fitting that he does a doo-wop number here, or he transforms Grenade into doo-wop, because doo-wop is like one of the foundational elements of his repertoire.
Yes.
You know, his dad, I think, was called Dr. Doo-wop. His dad was like the band leader of the family band. The family band was called the Love Notes, and they did doo-wop numbers. They were based in Hawaii. And Bruno and his whole family, they got their start doing doo-wop numbers.
So he's just tapping into
family
this
history.
Is very easy for him. Also, the one thing about that performance, I don't know if you caught this or like if it even struck you, but like his voice is gone. Like that upper register that we know so well in this performance is like shot.
Interesting. I read a profile of Bruno. I think it was a Rolling Stone profile, and he was famously a smoker.
Yes.
And he said that he liked to smoke
intentionally.
He would smoke
during the performances.
During performances, also to lower his register. Because there's something about he called it the pixie register that was unmanly or something. There was something he wanted to deform about that pixie register. And the cigarette smoke helped with that.
Yes, it definitely did that. I mean, it also explains something interesting about his whole thing, right? Because, I mean, whether he smoked, 2 million cigarettes to get that voice, or, whatever he did, it definitely masculinizes him
for sure
in this it puts him in a very kind of masculine tradition as a singer.
For sure. And that's one of the ways he remixes these like motifs that come before him, right? There is a tradition of people like Frankie Lyman and the Teenagers, who has that angelic, beautiful voice. These are men with very angelic, childlike kind of looks, right? And so there's something interesting about like wanting to sort of ape some aspects of their aesthetic while also wanting to kind of go a different way.
But to know as a young person that voice is not the voice you hear coming out of your mouth, that's really fascinating to me. I mean, I guess, when did you know that, not that he was your guy, but that there was something special in this person and there was something more to this ambient, put on some jeans and go out for the night kind of person?
I think for me, that was the 2014 Super Bowl.
Oh!
When he headlined the Super Bowl.
Okay.
It is the Super Bowl between the Seattle Seahawks and the Denver Broncos.
The Seahawks won. I love you, Russell! I love you!
So my husband, at the time, he was a huge football person. And we're in our one-bedroom apartment in LA watching the Super Bowl. We're going into halftime and we're just doing other things, maybe going to refill the chip bowl, maybe getting some beverages. And then Bruno starts. And then all of my attention goes to the television. He's playing drums. He's doing, I think, the intro to Locked Out of Heaven on the drums. He's in the middle of the audience, almost like Moses, and then he gets off the drums, and then he starts performing. And he goes into Locked Out of Heaven, which was phenomenal.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is not the time to talk about the hair. It isn't a pompadour.
It's a pompadour.
He's giving it, he is full on Jackie Wilson.
Full on New Nile.
Yep.
Pomade.
I mean, I use New Nile, but guess what it's not doing? That.
Right.
Oh, he's moving back and forth.
Yep.
Now, I mean, who's mad at this?
Right.
Who's mad at this? He is Tina. Now he's doing Ike and Tina.
So for me, for a person who has heard him ambiently, has heard him in the radio, seeing him finally, this is like the first time I really saw him put together a performance. And I was just so like totally just impressed by his showmanship, his work ethic, right? Like he's famously a person who rehearses the hell out of his band.
I mean,
you can
like,
see it
in a James Brown kind of way, or like a Sly Stone. You just got to do it till it sounds perfect.
I don't know if he was finding people.
Okay,
but he is hard on his band, and there was a pleasure in watching this like hard work, right? And just to see like this person wasn't just like this like kind of pop star, this guy who could just sort of coast on his hits from previous years, but that he was actually like a worker.
But I also think that what you're identifying in how he's working here is that he is interested in reinvention, right? Not simply of his influences, but of his own music. Right? He is reinterpreting himself. Actually, I would like to situate us in time, popular music-wise, because this was a period where, I would say the songwriter was still at a very important part of the pop music situation. Catchy chorus, big melody. I mean, this is an era where Bruno Mars was still what I would describe as a very good but conventional pop star by the definition.
Sort of a paint-by-numbers pop star.
At a moment when all the conventions are beginning to shatter. Drake is expanding, remixing, demanding that hip-hop change by changing it himself. Lady Gaga is also happening around this time. And what she's done is basically introduced persona reintroduced it to pop music. And Bruno doesn't have a persona yet.
Even though he sort of announces himself into the industry by associating with Black artists, right? That was something that was sort of interesting in retrospect. He comes in with with B.O.B., Nothing on You.
Right.
Then Billionaire with Travie McCoy.
Yes.
And then...
Which I didn't even think to bring into the conversation, but you're right.
Yeah, Young, Wild and Free, Snoop Dogg, and Wiz Khalifa, right?
Yes,
Like he's making his, I don't want to say allegiances clear, but his associations very clear.
His comforts too,
His comfort's
right?
clear.
The languages he can speak go from 1950s doo-wop.
Yes.
And even like lounginess, right?
For sure.
There's a little bit of like, Bennett, Sinatra, Humperdinck in there
Absolutely. And he's coming in, when he's entering pop in early 2010s, he's coming after this soul revival of the mid-aughts and the late aughts. So Amy Winehouse. Then you have Mark Ronson, who is a incredibly important member of this cohort because he produces a lot of Amy Winehouse's music, and he would go on to work with Bruno on Bruno's biggest hit.
I want to talk about that Mark Ronson song. I mean, I'm calling it a song. It is a situation. It is a continent. It is a planet unto itself. It is a meteor that strikes the earth and breaks it in like 1,000 pieces. I just sort of want to think through the persona that we're talking about Uptown Funk, by the way. The persona that I think the persona that arrives with the arrival of that song. Like the comet hits the earth and something comes out of it. And it's Bruno, but different.
Yes, very different.
It's officially a Mark Ronson song, right?
Yeah.
Like he's the credited artist on the song. And, this was part of a larger album that featured lots of other artists doing songs officially by Mark Ronson, the producer and songwriter. There was something about what the person singing the song, who is Bruno Mars, is doing that is both captivating, and for a person like me, my senses were doing something that they hadn't previously done with Bruno Mars.
Talk about that.
This is a strut song, right? This is a new song for Bruno Mars because it is not a song about trying to get a girl, trying to keep a girl, trying to shame a girl, trying to, propose to a girl. This is a song about what a bad motherfucker Bruno Mars is, right?
Yep.
And it isn't just that he's bad. It's that he is bad, right?
Yeah.
And he is taking all of the sort of black pomp of that previous self and is sort of re-engineering it for a very specific... It's like watching your prom date turn into a pimp. Like,
oh my gosh.
And I'm not mad at it, but I just want to note the difference. Who is this pimp? Make a dragon want to retire. Like, I mean, I don't know. But the other thing is, this is a song not just about how bad this guy is, but it's about the power and pleasure of this music to transform a person into a person who would act like this. And so there was a part of me that was really curious about where this banger-ass banger is going to take the person who's banging. Apparently, it was back to the Super Bowl. This amazing moment happens where there's Mark Ronson who comes out in a lame varsity jacket. And here's Bruno. And like, what even is this?
Black leather.
Not a sweatsuit.
That's a Bobby Brown outfit.
Yes, total like 1988 Bobby Brown. And now Bruno's doing his little James Brown.
No, this is James Brown meets a B-boy now.
Yep. We have not even talked about the dancing of Bruno Mars. And he's doing the Running Man. His crotch is in the camera. Stop, wait a minute, and puts himself to sleep. The Uptown Funkster Bruno Mars is now in some new and tricky territory. Because I wonder, because I just never really thought about whether or not or cared to remind myself of his not blackness. Because his blackness had actually overridden the biological circumstances.
Oh my gosh, you know who you sound like?
Uh-oh. I don't want to know.
You sound like Toni Morrison.
Oh, okay. Woo!
But you sound like Toni Morrison saying that Bill Clinton was the first black president.
All right, sure. But but this is what we came to talk about.
This is why we're here.
This is what we came to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm wondering, and I don't know how you feel about this.
Mm-hmm.
I left that Super Bowl, I remember thinking like, well, I mean, it wasn't just the Super Bowl. It was just what I recognized Uptown Funk to be saying about Bruno Mars.
Mm-hmm.
That wasn't on his album. So I was wondering like, well, what does a whole album of this Uptown Funk version of Bruno look like? What is this newly masculinized version, this newly black masculinized version of Bruno?
Yes.
What does he do next?
I have a question. How would you characterize that persona? Comfortable.
Very comfortable. Knowing. And almost as if that graduation, from prom date to turning people out is as if he earned it somehow. Or not only that, but as if it was some natural right of black masculinity.
Okay.
Right?
The entitlement of that character. Okay.
No, there's no place. Where else would I go but in Bobby Brown and MC Hammer's clothes? Like, where else would I be? And that persona is basically hardened and set in stone on 24 Karat Magic. Where each idea of this masculinity has a black pop exponent. Right? From James Brown to Freddie Jackson to New Edition.
Yep.
I mean,
Belle Biv
DeVoe. I mean, he's doing a little bit of everybody.
When you talked about this album, he said that he was trying to evoke all of the songs that he liked growing up in the 90s. He's born in 85, so I guess all the songs that sort of soundtrack his like major growing up moments, right? So he says like he wanted to put into this album the feeling of stepping onto a dance floor with a girl. And to me, it sounds like a coming of age album in an interesting way.
In a real interesting way, Niela. Interesting.
Yeah. So it's like almost kind of like teenage Bruno's ideas about what masculinity are. And he's sort of stepping into them, into costumes that you mentioned. Almost. So
I'm really curious can we just sit in one moment on 24 Karat Magic? Because I just want to, there's a thing he tries out very briefly on the song 24 Karat Magic that I want to like see if I'm crazy and I'm in hearing it.
Okay.
Shit. I'm a dangerous man with some money in my pocket.
Who do you hear? This is a song like that is situating itself in Inglewood, California. It's Kendrick.
Bitch, where you and I was walking.
King Kunta. That's where you're going. I hear it.
He's not scared of anything, and he is daring us to object. I mean, do you remember the cover of this album?
Yeah, it's him sitting in a chair with a silky outfit on, sunglasses, trucker hat.
I find it interesting that you are still identifying this as like a juvenile idea of sexuality, because what strikes me about it is that this is an affectation of black male sexuality that is actually dealing with paternity claims. Do you know what I mean? This is all about like just hitting and running. And I mean, I don't know anything about his personal life, but I'm hearing that in the music, and that's part of the affectation.
You're totally right. I mean, and one of the words that just recurs throughout this album, I think, is player. Player, right?
Yep.
It's a certain kind of promiscuous black masculinity, right?
So, I mean, that is my set of issues with Bruno and black masculinity. I don't want to say that your issues involve black masculinity, but did you have a moment where you're just like, Bruno, you need to stop playing?
Well, I think there were seeds of a doubt that started to be planted in my head around 24 Karat Magic, particularly some of the lyrics on the title track. The Inglewood's Finest Shoes, the Give the Color Red the Blues. It started to feel a little bit to me like you're not just quoting or interpolating Black music, but you're also infusing it like in terms of the lyrics as well, right?
Yeah.
You're borrowing from a drag. It's sort of a drag performance of Black vernacular, right? And I think I started to be a little bit bothered by that. And by the time we get to 2021's Silk Sonic album, I was like full on quirking my eyebrow at almost everything I saw. Like so in 2021, Bruno Mars and Anderson .Paak collaborate on this album, An Evening with Silk Sonic. It felt really good to listen to it at first. And then at some point, I think it was Smoking Out the Window.
Okay.
That I started to just, there was something about it that just felt a little bit off to me. Like it's almost like it's like when you taste a drink that's got sucralose in it instead of sugar.
Oh, sucralose?
Right? Yeah, it's like whatever. It's
something
like
so disgusting I wouldn't even want to drink it.
Yeah, it's supposed to be sweet, but it's not quite. And I think
saccharin.
Saccharin's
a thing I would recognize as being something I don't want.
It was an imitation. It started to become clear to me that this thing that I thought was very authentic and that came
Country
from
time lemonade.
Exactly. With the lime green color almost. It was this thing that felt initially like the product of study, the product of rehearsal, the product of reverence and respect and paying homage and tribute to these artists that you grew up listening to, that your family band looked to when they were putting together their set lists. And it became like this strange imitation of those previous the artists in the late 70s. And it started to feel to me that he was moving into this place of not only referencing, but moving into rote memorization. And I started to feel a little bit thrown off by that. And so Smoking Out the Window is this example for me of taking some of the allusions from this certain kind of Black male character, right? This person who's always smoking Marlboros or Newports, and sort of remixing the songs from the Shy Lights and bringing into it a 21st century idea of like masculinity brought from hip hop.
Must have spent 45,000 up in Tiffany's. Oh no! Got a bad
So they're in velvet, although based on this sound, it's probably velour.
Yep. And we have Anderson .Paak playing the David Ruffin character here, the raspy voice lead singer.
They are creating to the note faithful amalgamation of these late 70s sounds, right? These like drippy balladeer, baby making tunes.
Yes.
And this is a song about what happens after those babies get made.
Yes. And being double time, being played by a woman.
Yes.
Which is continuing that player theme that we get on 24 Karat Magic.
Right. And anytime like the highlight of the song involves anybody being called a bitch.
Right.
I'm not. It feels good, but it's like, so do a lot of things you shouldn't do.
Like smoking cigarettes.
Yeah, but they are. But you know what's crazy, Niela? This shit is cigarettes.
Yeah.
This is smoking.
A menthol Newport right here.
This is a pack of Cools. I don't know. So wait, talk to me more about your discomfort though.
This to me, this Silk Sonic album is it's not an expression of like bringing your own experiences into it. It just feels like something crafted, something manipulated, like to your point, this character that is performing a certain kind of masculinity, it just doesn't feel authentic to me. And it feels like Anderson .Paak is in there licensing himself as a Black musician and offering some of the Black experience there. But it just feels... it just feels rote. It doesn't feel invigorating or new.
It strikes me as listening to you talk, the thing that comes up for me is like karaoke.
Yep.
Yep. And I think that the thing that you're identifying, the thing that I share your discomfort, but the problem, the way that my problem connects to your problem with respect to what the persona has evolved into. I mean, I love your point about there's nothing personal happening here.
No.
There might be a personal affinity for the music itself.
Yes.
But there's nothing personal being expressed here. It's something else.
Yep.
And what I hear is they're making fun of real people's experiences. This is what the white boys were doing, funky white boys were doing for, Chromeo, Beck. I mean, even Steely Dan in a way, but Steely Dan is very knowing.
Very clever.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean, they know a whole history of things they're messing with as white men making black music.
Yep.
But Silk Sonic's problem to me is they're turning the black experience into comedy. And it's one thing for a different act to do it, right?
Yep.
I mean, it's one thing for Belle Biv DeVoe to be talking about poison.
Miss her, kiss her, love
Wrong
her.
move, you dead.
That girl is
I mean, not great, but there's like a truth there. I don't know what I'm supposed to believe with Silk Sonic.
That's such a great point, because I think for me, like, I'm thinking about my uncles and my dad. My dad was born in 1948. This music would have been a way for him to channel his emotions and to speak to women.
It was sincerely romantic.
It was sincerely romantic.
heartbroken.
Yeah, or expressing a political opinion, as the OJs, right?
Amen. Yes.
Like, this was music that was meant to help people sort of get through a rough political patch and emotional patches, right? This was straight up music. And the thing about Bruno's music, you're right, he's turned it into comedy. And what I felt for the first time listening to the Silk Sonic album was that I was listening to an impersonator. So this is a person, started off at 2 years old, impersonating Elvis and his family band, and then went on to Michael Jackson in high school. And now has finally gotten to this place where he is this sort of amorphous, wizened, weathered black man, that character that he's taken on. And it's finally we've gotten to a bad impersonation.
No,
he's doing a bad impersonation.
Niela.
Yeah.
Murder just happened in this room.
As much as it pains me to say, because I am a big fan of his earlier stuff, but right now this 2020s Bruno era is just sort of ominous in a way for me.
Okay, Niela, we've been talking about our just rock bottom love of Bruno Mars. This is not about breaking up with this man. It is just about giving him a little forensics. That's all. A little personal racial forensics. That's it. That's all we're doing. But it's great to be doing it in 2025. I mean, the reason in 2025 to do it is because, he's just been skating. He's just been, there's no murder to get away with, but he is having the kind of year where I'm like, this seemed straightforward to me, but it's now, his superstardom has taken a turn. It is remarkable, interesting that he comes back in the last 365 days looking like this, sounding like this, with these songs. I mean, first comes Die With A Smile, the duet with Lady Gaga. Then APT with Rosé from Blackpink. And then, earlier this year is Fat, Juicy.
Oh, my God.
Just Hold Your Fire. I'm not even done the song title.
Sorry, Wesley.
And Wet with Sexy Red. Just hold your fire. Because I first of all, each one of these songs was a big hit. I mean, Die With A Smile is still in the top 10 as we talk.
Yep.
The Billboard Hot 100. So, these songs are very popular. What's your experience with these songs? Is it ambient, active, avoidant?
I think
you can take one adjective and apply it to each song.
For sure. I think my experience with these songs, I think, obviously started with Die With A Smile last year, and it came in this interesting point of the year where it's sort of like every conversation was dominated. Every conversation of pop music was dominated by the Kendrick Lamar-Drake beef. And so we're in the fallout of this conversation where Kendrick Lamar has called Drake out,
this point.
held him to account, brought him to the carpet, and said, we don't trust you. We don't trust your multifarious ways. There's something colonizing about this ability to take from this, take from Afro beats, take from the piano music and Joe Berg, take from Canadian music, and then hop on songs with people on the West Coast.
Where?
Right? So we're coming out of that moment where this is at the top of mind for a lot of pop listeners. You know, you're not a colleague, you're a colonizer. And the first two of these trio songs, I think, were just like, okay, he's making a comeback. Bruno Mars is making a comeback. Lady Gaga is making a comeback. Rosé is trying to transition away from the group to, you know, her solo stardom. And they were fairly innocuous. You know, they're more ambient. We're in ambient mode again. And then earlier this year, I listened to Fat, Juicy, and Wet. And all I could think about was the culture war from last year. This is a song where we're bringing one of the hottest rappers, Sexy Red, who is known for her just sort of straightforward kind of, I don't want to say salacious is not the right word, but just sort of like a very basic kind of sexuality. Her first single was a song where she was just calling out the colors of her genitalia.
Yes. Who can forget?
So Sexy Red is going to give it to you. She's going to give it to you kind of raw. You know, we know what to expect with Sexy Red. But for me, it was sort of surprising that Bruno linked up with Sexy Red. I didn't see the clear affinity between these people. It felt like an industry connection. It felt like something that was hooked up by management, by labels. So I was just like, okay, this is like a little bit off to me. And then when you hear the song, it sonically sounds like something that could have been made in 2015. It sounds like a DJ Mustard song from the mid 2010s. And he's doing that revivalist thing where he's going back and getting old music and messing with it. Zhuzhing it up a little bit.
Zhuzhing it up.
But he's going back just 10 years ago, right? So there's something that's a little bit odd about that to me because I'm not understanding why you're just going back. We were just there, right? Like it just was like, what? So it's like, but it's not only sonically, thematically, and lyrically, the song is also redundant of WAP, Cardi B and Megan Thee Stallion's hit song from 2020. So that's 5 years ago. Right? So the lack of chemistry between Bruno Mars and Sexy Red is just sort of further confuses me. And so it seems to me like the work of someone who is sort of out of ideas. And it makes me, to your point about Bruno, the hinge point or this pivot place that he was in with Uptown Funk, I'm now wondering what he's up to. Where is he going to go? Like this feels to me the most like minstrelsy of anything that I've heard he's ever done. In the chorus of Fat, Juicy, and Wet, he says,
Fat, juicy, and wet. I don't even gangbang. Pussy so good, make me throw up a set. That good kitty, good kitty, make it my pet.
Our grandparents, our actual parents, honestly.
Yes.
I mean, I'll speak for mine. You know, they just run in and turn the radio off.
Right. So it's such a stark change from this person who started off doing doo-wop kind of ballads and is now fully into this like very messy, very mimetic space of trying to, you know, conjure this sort of like the worst ideas about Black masculinity, the worst ideas about Black romance. You know, this is a strip club anthem, but it's not even dirty and erotic enough for the strip club.
He already had a strip club anthem. Right? I mean, it was on the second album, and it's pretty good. But I love what you're identifying. I mean, I don't love your discomfort. I share it, and I totally understand where it's coming from because I also think that I wonder about the nature of the collaborations here because of these three artists. I mean, look, he's just picking up what Sexy Red is putting down on the one hand. And what's fascinating to me is we hadn't seen him in a while until he showed up last year with, I think Die With A Smile was the first of these three songs to appear. It's a duet with Lady Gaga. The way Lady Gaga is treated on this song is as a kind of equal. Like they're both doing equal parts of the song, whereas Rosé is doing a lot of the work on APT. They're not doing everything equally, whereas Bruno and Gaga are complete equals because, you know, it stands to reason. They are cultural equals from the standpoint of veteranhood and, you know, longevity and popularity and those sorts of things. But I think that the duets are doing something interesting here. Like he hasn't made a solo record since 24 Karat Magic. And I find it really fascinating that he is still asking for cosigns. He's still asking to reference the movie of the year to be let in. And he's been permitted. We let him in a long time ago. But the question is, with respect to that, like, who got let in? Because the person I opened the door for, Wesley Morris, the person I opened the door for, I didn't want Fat, Juicy, and Wet from.
Yeah, neither did I.
And I don't even feel good about saying that because again, what we are talking about in some ways is a question of belief. I let that guy in because I believed him. Like, I didn't even hear a knock.
Wow.
I opened the door and he was just standing in my bedroom. He was standing in my bedroom. But I didn't permit him. He just appeared, right? Like, I had no problem with it. Welcome.
So just thinking about Bruno Mars's mini voice quality got me thinking back to one of my favorite essays, a Zadie Smith essay. The essay is called Speaking in Tongues. It was written in 2009, and it was sort of considering Barack Obama's polyvocal nature.
I love this essay. I think she gave this as a speech.
Yes, it was a lecture.
And I just feel like there's so much generosity in it and so much optimism. I mean, it was written not long after Obama's election.
Yes.
And there's just there is so much belief in it.
Yes.
Go on.
And so she says, in Dreams from My Father, the new president displays an enviable facility for dialogue and puts it to good use, animating a cast every bit as various as the one James Baldwin, an obvious influence, conjured for his own many-voiced novel, Another Country. Obama can do young Jewish male, black old lady from the South Side, white woman from Kansas, Kenyan elders, white Harvard nerds, black Columbia nerds, activist women, churchmen, security guards, bank tellers, and even a British man called Mr. Wilkerson. This new president doesn't just speak for his people. He can speak them. It is a disorienting talent in a president. We're so unused to it. And so I was just thinking...
That's hitting on all kinds of levels right now.
Sure. And just thinking of like the wonder that comes from hearing a many voice person and the ultimate disorientation, like landing with disorientation. And I think about Bruno Mars and thinking about being a pop artist as a sort of politician in a way.
Yep.
You're sort of trying to conscript people and to inspire people and to get them to believe in you. And it just feels that we're at this point with him where he has so many constituencies, he can't serve one, right?
No.
He's trying to serve too many people.
He's a vice pop star at this point, right? I mean...
Vice pop star.
I mean, I don't know who's in charge,
perfect.
right?
That's
like,
perfect.
It's not him. And I feel like, wait, did I interrupt your point?
No. That's perfect.
Because the generosity that I still feel toward him, but it's jeopardized. It's been jeopardized. But a lot of it is the question that you asked, which was, what is he going to do next? With this generosity. Because connecting him to Obama and Drake is interesting because he too is a person from a place of multitudes, right? He and Obama are both Hawaiians, right? There's an openness and boundarylessness around identity. You can be a lot of different things and express a lot of different selves. And he's so fluid and comfortable at that. And I think that the thing that got him invited in by so many of us is that it was hopeful. It wasn't cynical.
You're speaking to this sort of demographic that he's able to speak to, and the variability of his talent and how it inspired so much hope from all of us and so much belief from us. I think it's something that he is very conscious of. And if I could, I just want to read a quote from Rolling Stone where he was speaking to just like what it meant to perform for tourists.
Yes,
and how that informed his performance style.
As a child or as a
child and a teenager.
Okay.
So he says, because of my upbringing performing for tourists, I had to entertain everyone. Not just Black people, not just white people, not just Asian people, not just Latin people. I had to perform for anybody that came to Hawaii. Right? And so it feels like you start off and this is your sort of like, you're operating, this is your mission, this is your statement, this is your like modus operandi. And we've gotten to this place, 15 years after his debut album, where it just seems like he's lost. He's lost himself in that, trying to appeal to all these different constituencies and all these different people. And when you, I think, perform for tourists, there has to be this thing where eventually, like, do you become a tourist? Do you become a tourist in all these genres that you're working in? I mean, I don't know. That seems a little bit pat, but I just wonder if that's the logical like conclusion of that kind of approach.
Niela, I mean, these 3 songs are works of tourism. I mean, these are newish sounds for him in a lot of ways. These are newish musical ideas for him. They're not that interesting. So, I mean, I invite him to read that quote back to himself.
I would hope that he can just find a way to, whoever it is, be himself. Same advice Kendrick gave to Drake last year. Work on yourself.
Yeah, whoever that is, Peter. Niela Orr! We just deepened our relationship with Bruno Mars.
We did.
Thank you for coming by to do it.
I'm glad to talk this through with you.
Anytime. Like and subscribe right here on YouTube.